a bombshell address that has ignited a firestorm of outrage and disbelief across West Africa. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu declared today that his administration is actively pursuing membership in the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. The controversial military and economic pact formed by Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, three nations led by junta regimes following recent coups. Speaking from the Aso Rock presidential villa, Tinubu framed the move as a bold, necessary pivot to combat the escalating jihadist insurgency ravaging the Sahel region, proposing a joint military force that would see Nigerian troops fighting shoulder to shoulder with forces from these AES members. The announcement, delivered during a surprise press conference amid rising tensions in the Lake Chad Basin and beyond, immediately sparked widespread controversy. Critics, including opposition leaders and ECOWAS officials, slammed it as a betrayal of Nigeria's long-standing role as the anchor of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, which has been at odds with the AES trio since their dramatic exit from the bloc in 2024. Social media erupted with hashtags like #TinubuTreason and #NigeriaSellsOut, as protesters gathered outside the National Assembly, chanting against what they called aligning with dictators. International observers, including from the African Union and the United Nations, expressed alarm, warning that this could fracture regional stability and embolden anti-democratic forces. Tinubu, undeterred by the backlash, outlined a sweeping vision for Nigeria's potential integration into the AES, emphasizing how it could reshape the fight against terrorism. The jihadists, Boko Haram, ISWAP, and their ilk, do not respect borders, he stated emphatically. By joining hands with our brothers in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, we form an unbreakable shield. Nigeria will lead a joint military command, deploying our elite forces, intelligence networks, and air power to root out these insurgents once and for all. No more waiting for Western powers or fractured alliances. This is African solutions for African problems. Delving deeper into the benefits, Tinubu painted a picture of mutual gains that could transform the Sahel's security and economic landscape. On the military front, he argued that a unified AES force, bolstered by Nigeria's vast resources, would finally halt the jihadist advance that has displaced millions and claimed thousands of lives. We've seen the failures of MINUSMA and French operations, he said, referring to the now-defunct UN peacekeeping mission and France's controversial military presence. With Nigeria in the fold, we can coordinate cross-border operations, share real-time intelligence on militant movements, and launch precision strikes that these groups won't see coming. Imagine Nigerian drones patrolling the Sahara alongside Malian ground troops, Burkina Faso's special forces raiding hideouts in the tri-border area, and Niger's battalions securing supply lines. This isn't just defense, it's the endgame for terror in the Sahel. Economically, Tinubu highlighted Nigeria's oil wealth as a game-changer for the landlocked AES members. As part of this alliance, Nigeria commits to supplying subsidized crude oil and refined products to Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger at preferential rates, he announced. This will stabilize their economies, fuel their industries, and reduce dependence on volatile global markets. In return, we gain access to their mineral riches, gold from Mali, uranium from Niger, creating a barter system that builds true African sovereignty. He went further, suggesting expanded trade corridors, joint infrastructure projects like Trans-Sahel highways and power grids, and even a shared currency initiative to rival the CFA franc. Think of the jobs, the investments, the prosperity, Tinubu urged. Nigeria's entry into AES isn't surrender, it's leadership. We'll help these nations rebuild after years of instability, while securing our own northern borders from spillover violence. Yet, the proposal has unearthed deep divisions. Pro-democracy activists accuse Tinubu of cozying up to military rulers who overthrew elected governments, potentially undermining Nigeria's own fragile democracy. This is a slap in the face to ECOWAS, which Nigeria helped found, said opposition figure Atiku Abubakar in a scathing tweet. Tinubu is trading our principles for oil deals and military adventures. Security experts warn of logistical nightmares. Integrating Nigeria's professional army with junta-led forces could lead to command conflicts, human rights abuses, or even escalate tensions with neighboring countries like Chad or Algeria, who view AES with suspicion. International reactions poured in swiftly. The U.S. State Department issued a cautious statement, urging dialogue over division, while France, long criticized for its neo-colonial influence in the region, condemned the move as destabilizing. Within Nigeria, ethnic and religious leaders voiced fears that aligning with predominantly Muslim Sahel states could inflame domestic sectarian tensions, especially in the north where Boko Haram's ideology still lingers. Economists question the oil supply pledge, noting Nigeria's own production struggles amid sabotage and global shifts to renewables. Could this drain resources needed at home? As debates rage in parliaments, boardrooms, and street corners, Tinubu's gambit raises profound questions about West Africa's future. Will this alliance forge a new era of Pan-African unity against extremism, or will it unravel the region's delicate balance of power? Mere hours after Nigerian President Bola Tinubu's explosive declaration of intent to join the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, the shockwaves have reverberated through the corridors of power in Bamako, Ouagadougou, and Niamey, igniting a blistering debate that threatens to deepen the chasm in West African geopolitics. What began as a unilateral overture from Abuja has morphed into a public showdown, with Burkina Faso's President Ibrahim Traore delivering a scorching rejection via a nationally televised press statement, labeling Tinubu's move as a cynical ploy orchestrated by external forces. The announcement has not only fractured opinions within the AES, but has also fueled accusations of betrayal, neocolonialism, and power grabs, drawing sharp lines between Pan-African nationalists and regional integrationists. Traore, the 37-year-old military captain who seized power in a 2022 coup and has since positioned himself as a fiery anti-imperialist icon, wasted no time in dismantling Tinubu's proposal. Broadcasting from the presidential palace in Ouagadougou, flanked by AES counterparts via video link, Traore's voice thundered with indignation. "We have received President Tinubu's so-called olive branch, and we reject it outright. This is not partnership. This is infiltration." Nigeria, under Tinubu, has been the spearhead of ECOWAS's aggression against our sovereign revolutions. Letting him into our alliance would be like inviting a wolf into the sheepfold. It would shatter everything we've built since casting off the chains of foreign domination. Delving into the historical grievances that underpin his rejection, Traore recounted the turbulent sequence of events following Burkina Faso's September 2022 coup, which ousted Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba amid widespread frustration over insecurity and perceived French influence. From day one, ECOWAS, with Tinubu as its cheerleader after he assumed the chairmanship in 2023, mobilized to undermine us, Traore asserted. He detailed how ECOWAS imposed crippling economic sanctions, suspended Burkina Faso's membership, and even threatened military intervention under the guise of restoring constitutional order. Tinubu, then ECOWAS chair, was instrumental in these efforts, Traore claimed, by rallying member states for a potential invasion force and coordinating with Western allies like France and the United States to isolate the junta. Tinubu hosted summits in Abuja where plots were hatched to reinstall puppets loyal to Paris and Washington, Traore said, referencing declassified communiques that allegedly show Nigerian diplomats lobbying for UN Security Council backing to enforce no-fly zones over Burkina Faso. They cut off our trade routes, froze our assets, and amplified propaganda calling us instigators of chaos, all while jihadists exploited the vacuum to attack our villages. The Burkina Faso leader didn't stop at regional politics. He escalated the rhetoric by branding Tinubu a puppet leader and a free tool for the Western world to control African resources. Drawing on long-standing criticisms of Nigeria's foreign policy, Traore argued that Tinubu's administration has deepened ties with multinational corporations and former colonial powers, allowing them unchecked access to Nigeria's oil fields, minerals, and markets. Look at the deals. Shell, Total Energies, ExxonMobil. They dictate terms in Abuja, siphoning billions while Nigerians suffer blackouts and poverty, Traore charged. He tied this to broader AES ideology, which emphasizes decolonization and resource sovereignty, pointing to Burkina Faso's post-coup moves like expelling French troops, nationalizing gold mines, and pivoting to Russian Wagner Group mercenaries, now Africa Corps, for security support. Tinubu offers oil? What oil? The one stolen by Western cartels. His subsidized supplies are a Trojan horse to flood our markets with Nigerian crude, undercutting our own extraction efforts in Niger's uranium and Mali's gold. This isn't aid. It's economic warfare masked as brotherhood. The debate within the AES has been equally intense, sources close to the alliance reveal. In Mali, President Assimi Goïta reportedly convened an emergency council, where hardliners echoed Traore's sentiments, fearing that Nigeria's inclusion, with its massive population, economy, and military, could dilute the junta's control and reintroduce ECOWAS-style oversight. We've achieved self-reliance. Joint patrols have pushed back jihadists in the Liptako-Gourma region. We've launched a confederation charter for shared defense, and we're negotiating with BRICS nations for independent financing, a Malian official leaked to reporters. Niger's Abdourahmane Tiani, another coup leader, expressed cautious reservations in private channels, acknowledging Nigeria's potential military boost but warning of ideological contamination. Public forums on social media and state radio in the AES nations buzz with divided opinions. Supporters of integration argue it could amplify the fight against groups like JNIM, Jamaat Nasser al-Islam wal Muslimin, while detractors rally behind Traore's narrative, sharing memes depicting Tinubu as a marionette strings pulled by Uncle Sam. The rejection has amplified controversies back in Nigeria and beyond. Opposition parties in Abuja seized on Traore's words to question Tinubu's motives, with some lawmakers calling for impeachment hearings over endangering national sovereignty. International media outlets, from Al Jazeera to BBC Africa, are dissecting the puppet allegations, highlighting Tinubu's past business ties to Western firms and his administration's reliance on IMF loans amid Nigeria's debt crisis. Human rights groups like Amnesty International warn that aligning with AES could expose Nigerian troops to the junta's alleged abuses, including summary executions and media crackdowns documented since the coups. Meanwhile, economic analysts ponder the fallout. If rejected, could Nigeria face retaliatory measures, like AES blocking migrant routes or boycotting Nigerian goods, exacerbating food shortages in the Sahel? As recriminations fly and diplomatic cables burn hot, the AES's unified front against Tinubu's bid raises stakes for the entire continent. Could this rejection push Nigeria toward isolation, or spark a broader realignment where other ECOWAS nations defect? In a dramatic escalation that has left West African diplomacy in tatters, Niger's military leader, General Abdourahmane Tiani, has issued an unequivocal and scathing rejection of Nigerian President Bola Tinubu's bid to join the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, likening the proposal to throwing a stone in a glass house that would inevitably lead to catastrophe. Coming on the heels of Burkina Faso's President Ibrahim Traore's fiery denunciation, Tiani's statement, released through a state media broadcast and amplified across AES channels, has solidified the alliance's hardline stance, portraying Tinubu as an unwitting or willing instrument of Western control. This double rejection has not only humiliated Abuja but has also intensified debates about power dynamics in the region, with whispers of potential retaliatory actions echoing from the Sahara to the Gulf of Guinea. Tiani, who assumed power in a July 2023 coup that ousted President Mohamed Bazoum amid accusations of French meddling and economic exploitation, spoke with unyielding resolve during a late afternoon address from Niamey's presidential palace. Flanked by uniformed officers and AES flags, he declared, "We stand firm with our brothers in Burkina Faso and Mali. Nigeria's entry into the AES under Tinubu is an absolute non-starter. It's like hurling a stone into a fragile glass house. No good will ever come of it. Shards will fly, wounding the very sovereignty we fought to reclaim. Tinubu must remember his place in ECOWAS, where strings pulled by Western authorities dictate every move. We will not allow that poison to infiltrate our alliance." Diving into the metaphors and motivations behind Tiani's rebuke, the stone in a glass house analogy paints a vivid picture of vulnerability and inevitable destruction, drawing on the precarious state of post-coup AES nations as they rebuild amid ongoing insurgencies and economic sanctions. Tiani elaborated that Nigeria's inclusion would expose the alliance's hard-won independence to external pressures, given Abuja's deep entanglements with institutions like the IMF, World Bank, and Western oil giants. "Our glasshouse is one we've fortified against neo-colonial winds," he said, referencing Niger's expulsion of French uranium mining operations and U.S. military bases post-coup. Tinubu's stone? It's weighted with dollars from Washington and euros from Paris. One crack, and the entire structure crumbles. Our joint military operations disrupted, our resource-sharing agreements undermined, our anti-jihadist frontlines weakened by divided loyalties. Tiani recounted the bitter history of ECOWAS's role in attempting to reverse the AES coups, with Tinubu at the forefront. As ECOWAS chair in 2023 to 2024, Tinubu spearheaded efforts to impose sanctions on Niger, including border closures that strangled trade and humanitarian aid, leading to food shortages and inflation spikes. He mobilized troops for a so-called standby force to invade us, invoking democracy, while ignoring the people's cries against exploitation, Tiani charged, citing leaked diplomatic cables that allegedly show Tinubu coordinating with French President Emmanuel Macron to pressure the UN for resolutions condemning the junta. The general highlighted specific incidents: ECOWAS's freezing of Niger's assets in regional banks, the suspension of electricity supplies from Nigeria, which powers much of Niger, and covert support for pro-Bazoum militias. These were acts of war disguised as diplomacy, Tiani asserted. Tinubu acted as the enforcer, a puppet whose strings lead straight to Western capitals hungry for our uranium, gold, and oil. Expanding on the Western control narrative, Tiani accused Tinubu of being a free tool for imperial interests, echoing Traore's earlier rhetoric but adding Niger-specific grievances. He pointed to Nigeria's reliance on foreign debt and investment, noting how Tinubu's economic reforms, including fuel subsidy removals and Naira devaluations, align suspiciously with IMF prescriptions, often at the expense of ordinary Nigerians. In ECOWAS, Tinubu dances to their tune, allowing NATO exercises in the Gulf of Guinea, signing lopsided trade deals that flood African markets with European goods, and suppressing Pan-African movements that challenge the status quo, Tiani said. For the AES, which has pivoted to partnerships with Russia, China, and Turkey for military aid and infrastructure, admitting Nigeria would mean inviting backdoor influence. Imagine Nigerian intelligence sharing our strategies with CIA handlers, or Tinubu's oil offers coming with clauses that reinstate French oversight on our mines. No good comes from it, only division, dependency, and defeat against the jihadists who thrive on our disunity. The statement has stirred fervent discussions within Niger and the broader AES framework. In Niamey, crowds gathered in support, waving signs decrying Tinubu the traitor and chanting for AES solidarity. Internal AES deliberations, per insider accounts, revealed Tiani pushing for a formal charter amendment to bar any ECOWAS-aligned nations, arguing that Nigeria's military might, while tempting for counterinsurgency, carries too high a risk of hegemony. We'd be trading one master for another, a Nigerian advisor confided, noting potential command disputes where Nigerian generals might prioritize Abuja's interests over AES goals. Economically, Tiani dismissed Tinubu's oil supply pledge as illusory, claiming it would lock AES states into unfavorable terms, reminiscent of colonial-era resource extraction pacts. Our uranium powers French reactors. We won't let Nigerian oil power Western agendas through the back door, he warned, proposing instead deepened ties with non-Western blocs like BRICS for sustainable energy alternatives. Ripples from Tiani's rejection are felt far and wide. In Nigeria, the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, amplified the puppet label, demanding parliamentary probes into Tinubu's foreign policy blunders. Regional analysts speculate on fallout. Could AES impose counter-sanctions, like restricting Nigerian access to cross-border trade routes vital for northern commerce? Or might this push dissident ECOWAS members, frustrated with Western dominance, toward AES flirtations? Human rights watchdogs raise alarms about escalating rhetoric potentially justifying crackdowns on cross-border activists, while security experts debate if the snub will force Nigeria to go solo against Boko Haram, straining its already overstretched forces. With Mali's Assimi Goïta expected to weigh in soon, the AES's collective dismissal of Tinubu's overture hangs like a storm cloud over West Africa, begging questions about fractured alliances, resurgent nationalism, and the true cost of sovereignty in a multipolar world. As the fallout from Nigerian President Bola Tinubu's audacious bid to join the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, spirals into a full-blown diplomatic inferno, Mali's interim president Assimi Goïta has unleashed a withering, laughter-laced rebuke that has further entrenched the alliance's ironclad opposition. In a prime-time address broadcast from Bamako's presidential compound, Goïta dismissed Tinubu's overture as so hilarious it borders on absurdity. Questioning who in their right mind would entertain such a request from a leader he branded a puppet and corrupt figurehead. This triple rejection, following stinging repudiations from Burkina Faso's Ibrahim Traore and Niger's Abdourahmane Tiani, has amplified the ridicule heaped on Abuja, exposing raw ideological fissures and personal animosities that could redefine West Africa's power map. Goïta, the 43-year-old colonel who led Mali's 2020 coup against President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta and has since steered the nation toward radical reforms, delivered his statement with a mix of mockery and menace, chuckling audibly at points as if recounting a bad joke. Tinubu making a request to join the AES? It's so hilarious. Like, who will even let him in? He quipped, pausing for effect amid applause from assembled military brass. AES is not for puppets and corrupt leaders who dance to foreign tunes. This alliance is for those who have their country's interest at heart, willing to work tirelessly for the people, sacrifice everything for them, and build nations that become the envy of the world. Tinubu? He's a threat to our bloc and must remain exactly where he is, outside, entangled in his web of Western dependencies. Unpacking Goïta's derisive commentary reveals layers of historical resentment and philosophical clash that have simmered since the AES's formation in 2024. Goïta traced the roots back to Mali's own turbulent transition, highlighting how ECOWAS, under Tinubu's influence as chair, orchestrated a campaign of isolation after the 2021 follow-up coup that solidified his junta's grip. They slapped us with sanctions that starved our hospitals and schools, all while Tinubu preached democracy from his opulent villa, Goïta recounted, detailing specific measures like the closure of borders that halted vital imports of medicine and fuel, exacerbating Mali's battle against jihadist groups like AQIM, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. He accused Tinubu of personally lobbying African Union envoys to withhold recognition of the transitional government, citing alleged audio leaks from 2023 summits where Nigerian delegates pushed for military blockades. Corruption. Look at Lagos scandals, embezzlement in oil revenues, election rigging exposed by international observers. How can such a leader claim to fight insurgency when his house is built on sand? Goïta's vision of the AES as a bastion for true patriots contrasts sharply with his portrayal of Tinubu's Nigeria as a cautionary tale of failed leadership. He elaborated on the alliance's ethos, a commitment to grassroots governance, where leaders like himself have implemented sweeping changes such as land reforms redistributing French-owned farms to local cooperatives, anti-corruption purges that jailed hundreds of officials, and military overhauls that integrated community militias into national defense. We've sacrificed nights without sleep planning offensives against jihadists in the north, personal risks facing assassination attempts funded by external foes, Goïta said, crediting these efforts for recent gains like reclaiming Timbuktu from militant control and launching AES-wide vaccination drives amid economic blockades. In contrast, he lambasted Tinubu as embodying the opposite, a puppet whose policies, from deregulating fuel prices to securing foreign loans with resource concessions, prioritize Western interests over African self-reliance. Build a country to envy? Nigeria under Tinubu is envied only for its chaos, protests in the streets, youth fleeing abroad, resources plundered by multinationals. Joining us would infect the AES with that rot, turning our sacrifices into a farce. The address has ignited fierce debates across Mali and the Sahel, with state media panels dissecting Goïta's words as a manifesto for revolutionary Pan-Africanism. Supporters in Bamako's markets and online forums hail it as a wake-up call, sharing viral clips of Goïta's laughter overlaid with memes mocking Tinubu's image. Within the AES, the statement reinforces unity, with joint communiques circulating that propose blacklisting Nigerian officials from future summits. Critics inside Mali, including exiled opposition figures, whisper concerns that such inflammatory rhetoric could alienate potential allies and prolong isolation, especially as jihadist attacks persist in the central regions. Economically, Goïta downplayed Tinubu's oil offer, calling it hilarious bait that would chain AES states to Nigeria's volatile supply chains, vulnerable to sabotage by Delta militants or global price swings. Instead, he touted Mali's pivot to solar energy deals with China and gold-backed currencies as models of envy-worthy innovation. Backlash extends regionally and globally. In Nigeria, Goïta's hilarious puppet jibe has fueled outrage, with pro-government rallies in Abuja decrying it as insulting arrogance from a coup plotter. Diplomatic sources hint at Tinubu's team scrambling for countermeasures, perhaps appealing to the African Union for mediation or ramping up border patrols to counter perceived AES aggression. Analysts warn of heightened risks. Could this rhetoric embolden insurgents to exploit the divide, launching cross-border raids? Or might it inspire defections from ECOWAS, with countries like Guinea or Senegal eyeing AES's anti-Western appeal? Human rights advocates decry the escalating personal attacks, noting documented abuses under Goita's rule, arbitrary detentions, media censorship, that mirror the corruption he accuses others of. As Goita's echoes of derision fade into the night, the AES's door slams ever harder on Tinubu, leaving West Africa teetering on the edge of unprecedented realignment, where laughter masks the gravity of a brewing storm.